Aisha, statistically, Sir Keir Starmer is the greediest member of Parliament. £110,000 worth of goodies since 2019.
Keir Starmer is facing a whirlwind of accusations that have rocked his leadership, leaving even his most loyal supporters questioning his integrity. From lavish freebies worth £110,000 to a tense clash with a top Sky News reporter, Starmer's carefully crafted image seems to be crumbling right before our eyes. Can Starmer survive this storm, or is his time as leader slipping away?
Following these concerning remarks from Sky News' political editor Beth Rigby about her experience interviewing the Prime Minister last week.
I was trying to say is, do you understand how it looks when you present yourself as one thing?
Keir Starmer's recent interaction with Beth Rigby, Sky News' political editor, has sparked a flurry of criticism over his temperament. During a tense interview, Rigby questioned Starmer on his image, pointing out the seeming contradiction between his self-presentation as a grounded, people-focused leader and the growing perception that he's not so different from his predecessors when it comes to accepting perks. Rigby didn't hold back, asking whether Starmer realised how this might look to the public. She even suggested that some might see his approach as mere continuity, implying he's no better than those he once criticised. This line of questioning struck a nerve, and Starmer's reaction was reportedly intense. According to Rigby, he appeared furious, creating an atmosphere that felt visibly tense and uncomfortable for her.
Really uncomfortable, damning words there from Beth Rigby. With no deep well of support within the party for this ailing Premier, and with respected MP Rosie Duffield having quit Labour in fury.
When a seasoned journalist like Rigby, known for her no-nonsense interviews, admits to feeling uncomfortable, it speaks volumes about the intensity of Starmer's response. It's a reaction that's difficult to overlook, especially as public opinion of him as a composed leader starts to take a hit. For many, this outburst has raised concerns over how he handles high-pressure situations. It's one thing to disagree with a tough question, but for a Prime Minister who regularly faces intense scrutiny, the ability to stay calm under fire is essential. Such moments leave a mark, particularly when the leader's reaction suggests they may struggle to keep their cool. The media and public alike expect leaders to withstand the pressure of pointed questions, especially those that reflect the public's growing concerns, without resorting to anger.
And he's been angry with a very senior female political reporter at Sky News and made her feel uncomfortable. I don't think this guy has got the right temperament for the job, or indeed the right character, does he?
This incident has done more than just raise eyebrows. It has led people to question whether Starmer has the right temperament for the job, with critics suggesting his reaction may reveal a deeper struggle with criticism, especially when his integrity or public image is at stake. Leadership isn't just about policies and promises, it's about character, and moments like this shape public perception in powerful ways. A leader's interaction with the media, especially during difficult conversations, serves as a litmus test of their ability to handle scrutiny. For a leader to show visible anger in a media interview suggests a vulnerability that can be politically risky. As these concerns over Starmer's temperament spread, it remains to be seen how he will manage the escalating scrutiny, especially if he finds himself in similarly challenging interviews in the future.
And quite frankly, it's had an easy ride with the other mainstream media, Mark. Not GB News. GB News have been fair on both sides. You always get, like you can see, you got Aisha on today. But let's face it.
Criticism of Keir Starmer hasn't stopped at his temperament. There's a growing perception that he's being hypocritical, especially when it comes to his acceptance of lavish perks. Starmer, who's long positioned himself as a man of the people, has recently come under fire for reportedly accepting around £110,000 worth of luxurious freebies since 2019. This includes designer suits and high-end gifts from wealthy acquaintances, an image that starkly contrasts with his intended public persona as a leader focused on the average citizen's issues. These revelations have raised eyebrows and invited harsh criticism from political opponents who argue that his actions suggest a troubling disconnect from the values he professes.
You're taking freebies. At one point I said to him, some people might think this is continuity Johnson, you're taking freebies from rich friends. He was absolutely furious with me. It was really uncomfortable.
To those who follow politics closely, this issue of freebies creates a troubling narrative around Starmer's character. When a leader promotes values of fairness and equality, yet accepts high-value gifts from affluent friends, it feels like a betrayal of the principles they claim to stand for. For someone like Starmer, who has tried to distance himself from the elite associations often criticised in politics, this type of behaviour undermines the credibility he's worked to establish. People expect leaders to make sacrifices and to uphold standards that set them apart as public servants. Accepting pricey suits and luxury items without clear justification can erode the public's trust, especially when those items contrast with the struggles faced by everyday people. Political opponents have seized upon this issue, framing it as yet another example of Starmer's alleged hypocrisy. By indulging in these lavish gifts, Starmer's critics argue, he's showing he's out of touch with the very people he claims to represent. They point to his acceptance of these perks as evidence that he's no different from the politicians he once criticised, those who put personal gain ahead of their duties to the public. For a leader who often speaks out against the excesses of the wealthy and champions policies aimed at curbing inequality, the optics of accepting luxury items are far from favourable.
Diane Abbott has said that Keir Starmer treated her like a non-human, and Rosie Duffield, Labour MP, who has now renounced the Labour whip and left the party in the Commons, said she was ignored by Starmer whilst she received rape and death threats.
Keir Starmer's leadership of the Labour Party is facing significant internal pressure, with growing signs of a deepening rift. One of the most telling moments of this division came when Rosie Duffield, a prominent Labour MP, quit in protest, citing a lack of support from the party's leadership. Duffield's resignation wasn't just a simple exit. It was a loud statement that exposed cracks within the party, highlighting how Starmer's leadership style is increasingly alienating key members. Her departure is emblematic of the broader dissatisfaction within the Labour Party, where tensions seem to be simmering just beneath the surface. For many MPs, Starmer's leadership has failed to unite the party. While he may have positioned himself as a moderate and pragmatic leader, this has come at the expense of building strong relationships with various factions within Labour. The left wing of the party, which once rallied behind Jeremy Corbyn, has grown increasingly disillusioned with Starmer's centrist approach. Even those who initially supported him are beginning to question whether his leadership can genuinely bridge the ideological divides that run through Labour's ranks. This lack of unity raises an important question. Could Starmer's inability to rally the full support of his party eventually lead to a collapse of internal support? What began as murmurs of dissatisfaction have evolved into a full-fledged movement on social media, with critics inside and outside the party calling for his resignation. The hashtag has gained momentum, fueled by defections like Duffield's and the persistent grumblings of MPs who feel sidelined or ignored under Starmer's leadership. High-profile figures have begun to speak out more openly, and while it might not be a full-scale rebellion just yet, the signs of discontent are growing louder by the day.
Does Keir Starmer have a problem with women?
Absolutely not. No way. I think these obviously individuals like Diane, I have so much respect for Diane, and obviously Rosie as well.
The criticisms levelled at Keir Starmer by Rosie Duffield and Diane Abbott paint a troubling picture of how women in the Labour Party feel they've been treated under his leadership. Rosie Duffield's decision to resign from Labour didn't come out of nowhere. It was rooted in her feeling that the party had failed to stand by her during one of the most challenging periods of her political career. Duffield faced relentless harassment, including rape and death threats, after she publicly spoke out about the importance of biological sex in the ongoing gender debate. Throughout this turmoil, she claims that Starmer and the party leadership offered little to no support, leaving her feeling abandoned and isolated.
Thanks to Aisha Ali Khan, and also delighted once again to see former Conservative MP and Minister Dame Andrea Jenkins.
This lack of support led to Duffield's resignation, but her case is not an isolated incident. Diane Abbott, another prominent Labour MP, has voiced similar concerns. Abbott, who has been one of the most recognisable faces in Labour for decades, accused Starmer of treating her as non-human during a particularly difficult period in her career. These accusations from two high-profile female MPs suggest that Starmer's approach to dealing with women in his party has raised serious concerns. Abbott's claim goes beyond political disagreements. It's about basic respect and humanity, or the lack thereof. If two senior female figures feel mistreated, it's hard not to question whether there's a broader issue at play here.
This is something that Boris Johnson himself introduced. These are the policies that were basically introduced under the Conservatives' leadership.
So are you saying there's no difference between Labour and Conservative? We may as well continue Conservative.
I think what you'll find...
Keir Starmer, once praised by much of the mainstream media as a steady hand for the Labour Party, is now finding himself under increasing scrutiny from the very outlets that once backed him. Traditionally supportive media platforms, including Sky News, have started to change their tone when it comes to Starmer's leadership. The shift became especially apparent during his uncomfortable exchange with Beth Rigby, Sky News political editor, where Starmer's furious reaction raised eyebrows. This interaction was a tipping point for many commentators, who began questioning whether the man once seen as Labour's saviour might be showing cracks under the pressure. Political pundits are starting to suggest that Starmer's mask has slipped, revealing a side that many in the press did not expect. Known for his calm demeanour and calculated approach, Starmer's recent reactions suggest a more volatile side, one that doesn't always align with the public persona he has crafted. His outburst during the interview with Rigby highlighted a vulnerability, which commentators argue could point to a deeper issue with how he handles criticism and media pressure. When leaders begin to lose their composure in front of the press, it tends to signal a larger problem simmering beneath the surface. The media's shift in tone matters. It's not just about one or two critical headlines, it's about a broader trend of journalists and commentators no longer giving Starmer the benefit of the doubt. If the press begins to turn on him in a sustained way, it could influence public opinion. Media outlets have a significant role in shaping narratives, and if they start painting a picture of Starmer as an unsteady or hypocritical leader, that narrative can quickly gain traction with voters. The media's current scrutiny might also embolden political opponents, giving them more ammunition to attack Starmer's character and leadership style. In British politics, maintaining good relations with the press is crucial. A positive media portrayal can make or break a leader, especially one who's still relatively new to the job like Starmer. If he continues to face hostile coverage, his ability to control the political narrative diminishes, and that's where the real damage can occur. Starmer's future as Labour leader may well depend on whether he can regain the media's trust, or at least weather the storm without losing more ground in the eyes of both the press and the public. Keir Starmer is no stranger to political pressure, but in recent months, the growing scepticism about his leadership has reached new heights. The British public, once willing to give him a chance as Labour's leader and potential Prime Minister, is beginning to show signs of doubt. The question on many people's minds is simple. Can Starmer survive until Christmas? Political pundits and commentators have been weighing in, and their predictions aren't looking good for him. Some are even suggesting that his position as Labour leader is hanging by a thread.
And it's pathetic to see this kind of warfare played out in public.
Public opinion is a fickle thing, and Starmer's recent controversies haven't helped his case. From the allegations of hypocrisy surrounding his acceptance of lavish freebies to the awkward and heated exchange with Beth Rigby, the public is starting to question whether Starmer has the temperament and integrity required to lead the country. A leader who comes off as sanctimonious or out of touch with the struggles of everyday people quickly loses favour, and the British public has a low tolerance for hypocrisy. Political commentators have been quick to point out that Starmer's inability to handle these challenges gracefully could spell disaster for his leadership. One particularly damning opinion came from former Conservative MP Dame Andrea Jenkins, who didn't mince her words when she said that Starmer's reaction to Rigby's questioning was arrogant and inappropriate. Jenkins isn't alone in her assessment. Many pundits have commented on the lack of a honeymoon period for Starmer, which most new Prime Ministers enjoy. His first few months have been anything but smooth, and that's reflected in the polls. Traditionally, a new leader can expect a bounce in public support, but Starmer has yet to see any such boost, and his approval ratings remain stagnant or even decline.